Good afternoon, friends. Hope you are all doing well. Forgot to do my countdown. We have a Viking with a fever today. So I'm very bad about, he'll set this up because this is his whole rig. And I'm very much a creature of habit. So when I click on it myself, it's several times. That is how I get in the habit of doing things. So sorry for no countdown. You have joined me live on the Comp Queen with Cassi DeHaas, and I'm very excited to be here today to comp all the properties for you. We've already got our good friend Guy Hodges with us. Good to see you, Mr. Hodges, faithful follower. We've got Mr. Edgar Alexandra, yes, correct, Alexander, with us today. We've got a property teed up and ready to go. Your offer to the seller would be contingent upon a lot more things than comps. So we can go over those types of things. I'll start in with some good housekeeping items, your normal welcome package, start of the show. Good afternoon, Mr. Meza. Good to see you, my dear friend. Hope you are well. You had a fantastic Christmas. So we'll dig right into the housekeeping items. First and foremost, I come on here weekly to pull comps for you guys live so you can see how I pull them. I love the hat. Brian, good to see you, sir. Thank you. Tip of the hat to you, sir. So we have bless you. We've got Brittany sneezing in the background. Don't mind us. Oh man, good stuff. So we are going to go through our usual. If you're a first-time joiner / follower, watcher, etc., we are on, I believe, episode 11, roughly. Come in here live Wednesdays at 3 Central Standard Time. And what I like to do is pull comps for you guys live. If you enter the address into the comment section, you'll get to see how I pull the comps, and I'll kind of go through my train of thought and give you, what I think, an as-is market value and a current market value would be versus a fully remodeled value, because that's typically what people are looking for as far as my followers go. I like to showcase the comp tools that we use nationwide: Batch Leads, PropStream, and Propelio. Hi, Robin. Good to see you, my darling. The Alto Titus, who said hi. He's not been coming to the office lately, and he misses everyone greatly. He's going to have a visit someday soon. That being said, as far as the tools that we use to comp nationwide, I like to showcase the different tools and the different results that we get from those tools. As of late, if you've been following, Propelio's nationwide comp tool has been down. We still use it for other purposes, but when it comes to comping, it's been very heavy batch and very heavy PropStream in these parts lately. And so we'll go through what we're finding and compare and contrast. Sometimes they're still different, but I've been loving the batch comp tool for quite some time now. It's my go-to, especially since it's right there in the rest of all of our marketing stuff. And you can get our promo codes there, streaming, or whatever you call that, looping at the bottom of the screen there. So going from there, we have an initial question of what should my offer be on this property, and you guys can just definitely add any properties you want me to comp on here for you so you can see them on the screen in that comment section. But So what your offer should be. I am not doing deal analysis so far yet on this show. I find that to be a little bit more complicated, and here's why. I don't know what the general questions that we ask to sellers when we're virtual are going to be. What is the current condition of the property? Is it good, scary, bad, ugly? Is it occupied? Is it tenant or owner occupied? Tenant or owner occupied? Or is it vacant? Has it been updated at all? What does that rent rate look like? There are several different ways you can run numbers on a property. So what that means your offer should be is going to be heavily contingent upon some of those factors. Your offers should be calculated on closing costs, repair costs, and that's more than one closing, your holding costs, and what really is your exit strategy. So there's a lot of factors that can go into that and how you run your numbers. And those could affect your offer. It also depends on what kind of offer you're giving. If it's a cash offer, if you're taking down, some type of loan, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of factors that play with that. Oh man, it says we're having trouble streaming to Facebook. That makes me sad. Patrick, can you check and see if it's streaming at all to Facebook?
I'm having technical difficulties at the moment.
Oh, jeez.
But before I had to reset, it was fine. You were coming in fine. Just like 2 seconds, 8 seconds ago.
Lord Jesus. This is what happens when the Vikings gone. I think it's only in one group. It looks like we should be good. All right. So that being said, another thing that we go into on this show is, we have a Facebook user that says kissy face. Thanks. I think. I don't know who you are unless you register for StreamYard. I can't see your name, so I guess you're just letting me know that it's coming up. Other Facebook users. Yeah. I'm just now realizing up at the top, it's just only in one of the groups that we're live streaming in. So no big deal there. So that being said, let's go over some appraisal rules real quick. I want to just, especially for those first time viewers, we want to be cognizant of things that are like our basic rules of comping that are pretty much going to apply no matter what, and then we'll dig in on our first comp for the day. It's Elijah. Okay, well, kissy face back. Thanks, Bubba. I guess that means you are out of the hospital, or hopefully you're alive. That makes me happy. I didn't think you were gonna get dead from poison oak, so I wasn't super worried. Thanks, Edgar. Good. So that being said, we have several things that we want to be cognizant of when we're pulling comps. Your typical general appraisal rules are my first and foremost, in that you definitely have to add and subtract for bedrooms, bathrooms, pools, garage spaces. And you really want to be cognizant of finished out attics and finished out basements, right? So you really want to be looking for like and kind. You really want to be cognizant of the fact that if you pull a comp and it has an additional, I always go to bedrooms and bathrooms because it's very easy. If you have an additional bedroom or bathroom, that adds value to the house. So your house is either worth more or less compared to that comp. Same thing with pools, garages. Now, what they go for on the market might be different in your particular area than what they would go for on an appraisal. And so I usually just do a rule of thumb, because we don't get to use the appraiser's actual software, of add plus or minus 10,000 for those things. But I will also, sometimes like here in Texas, I'll add or subtract 20,000 for a pool, for example. And then obviously we're talking about square footage. You want to be as close as you can in the square footage. So what you're looking for is a blueprint property, right? So, all right, Thomas, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if it was just, like I said, I think it's just that one group it looks like it's having problems in. So that being said, you want to be very, very cognizant of what you're looking for. You want to keep it as close. You don't want to cross major roads. You want to be aware if you're on the water, on the golf course, or if your lot is not on the water or not on the golf course. You know, just like you want to be cognizant of if you have an acre and your comp has 4 acres, you know, these things add or subtract value. And you want to get as many comps, 3 to 6, as close as you can to what you actually have in your subject property. So a lot of times on this show, I get people's more complicated comps just naturally, but sticking with it takes me a little bit longer sometimes because I've really got to dig in, but you know, it's worth it. That's what I'm here for, here to be a resource for you guys and talk comps. I've been comping for a lot of years. So it's something that I don't think that is available in that way anywhere else where we just, hey, put your property in there, I'll comp it live. Now, if I don't get enough comps in the comments section, then I'll just start picking and choosing comps here and there and everywhere for that matter. So we'll start and we will dig into our first one. Let me take a moment to get swapped over here so I can screen share. Maybe. Huh. Maybe. This is what happens when Robert Blaine isn't here. Oh man, good stuff. All right, I've got yours written down too, Brian, and we'll get right started here in Florida. All right, so this looks like it is pending. So that's the first thing that I would check into. As I'm going straight to this. So the first thing I would look into, if this is not you, Edgar, is just make sure that this is not pending on the MLS. It looks like it's probably got recent, or these photos are current since it's still listed for sale, but then I'm still going to just double check. It's been on the market for 14 days. Price to sell. So one of the things I really, I'm really big about, this is probably very accurate, by the way. One of the things I'm really big about is if it is listed for a certain price, especially for a short amount of time, then it's highly likely that somebody who is supposed to be an expert in the field got somewhere close to a current as-is value. So that being said, I will definitely comp this, but depending on the exit strategy, it's really going to matter what, if this is a good investment property, right? I'm going to write down a couple of quick ones really fast. This one's weird. All right. So I'm going to also quickly look into this one over here. It's interesting that it said that it was pending on batch. So, like I said, you don't really want to consider comps across this main freeway right here necessarily. I go pretty broad because I don't really want to. I want a good understanding of what the market is saying. And in PropStream here, it's automatically listed in order of distance. But like I said, you've got to be cognizant of, do I really want to cross major roads? Not really. We have comps that are probably very close to our neighborhood. So it's all within half of a mile in the square footage range right here. So our subject property is 1882 square feet. So I come right over here and I mean, immediately I'm going to switch over to both. I'm probably going to go 0.25 miles. Narrow it down some to 0.25 miles within our subject property. Not going to probably consider 9 and 12. So I'm going to uncheck those immediately. I am very much not seeing anything close. Anything close. Oh, am I on the wrong property? I don't even know how that pulled up the wrong property. 1021 Bernice. No wonder I'm like, what in God's green earth are we seeing here? There is no way. We just pulled up the last property we comped on accident. All right, here we go. It says it's contingent on here as well. Reading up on the listing description, separate laundry. Yeah, I mean, the first and foremost thing that I would do is get a hold of that listing agent. 16710. I mean, it looks like it's listed about right for market value. Digging into the condition, that doesn't look anything crazy. This looks to be about the same. So what would I offer on this property with what I'm seeing? I mean, I think it's probably not a property I would offer on for any of my exit strategies. I mean, it seems to be market value. If I were an owner occupant, I might not. I might feel a little differently, but I would just dig into those other comps. I mean, definitely looks like it could use some updating, but all of the comps have the exact same situation from what I can tell. So looks like the agent probably listed it quite right. It's back on the market. I checked. It doesn't really make sense rental wise for me. So I'd be offering much lower than they have it marketed at, but I'm not seeing the investment strategy there. It is what I'm saying. But after closing costs and such, I don't think the rent rate's good. And I don't think there's a lot of purchase room there. Now, if they obviously would accept a lot lower offer, they had some kind of underlying motivation, you'd be talking like a different story, but I'd still be way further, way lower. So 610 McCabe. I mean, I would think it would go somewhere close to that on the market. with the information that I have. All right, let's dig in here. And let's just see if the nationwide comp tool is back up over here. Negative. We're just going to close out of that. All right, so it looks like we have a townhouse. Owned it for quite some time, built in 1930, 1,400 square feet. One of the things I really like to make sure I try to find is if I can figure out how many bedrooms that is. That's pretty helpful. Some of these states, it's kind of not fun. Townhouse, row house, whatever you like to call that. Good afternoon. So I like to kind of look in this general area. Property types, we've already got townhouses here. Checking out your recommended defaults. Square footage 20%. You know, checking out your default filters here, right? I always come down here and tend to go and sort again by distance so that my batch list portion is in order of distance. This looks, wait, is this the same address? It's not, is it? I mean, this looks like a pretty 618 and 610 McCabe. This looks like a pretty solid blueprint property here. Couple doors down. Everything updated. The basement isn't exactly finished out, but I mean, that's pretty much a perfect comp, right? So on batch, what you would want to do with that is give that a thumbs up. And, oh, it was for rent. Dagnabbit. Well, at least you know what the rent rate is right out of the gates. I might want to look at those property details, though, and see what they purchased it for, if there's a history on here. In 2019, so it's older, but I mean, that's a good rent rate, and they did update everything, you know? So just gives you some information there. And this is, again, guys, one of the reasons that we use multiple tools. So right now we're on public record versus MLS. I'm going to click both really fast. And I'm going to start digging in, right? So I'm going to unclick everything. 607 McCabe. I want to check that bad boy out. Pretty clear comp. This is a blueprint, again, updated throughout. We know what our rent rate would be for this. And sometimes I don't even really, I know an appraiser, you always want to verify same basement situation. So we're seeing a common theme here, at least through the photos, of what you want to target for rehab. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what the current condition is of our subject property. These are very easy and very similar comps. I mean, it's essentially the exact same house. So, I mean, it looks like they just went and built these in rows, right? So this would be my assumption. And one of the reasons I stick with this, guys, is like, it's a little bit different when you're doing like these kinds of townhouses, row houses, etc. You know, you're like, well, I need 3 to 6 comps, but you know, we've got some that are kind of like, not completely updated. Ooh. Why would this one only sell for 77, right? Versus ours that sold for 140. I mean, it looks like it probably yep. I said, it looks like it was probably livable, but it has some serious issues, making it hard to get financed. Needs a new roof, has some other issues also going on. Needs completely painted. I mean, this is a good little rehab project, but I mean, look at this. They're mid remodeling some of it, So that being said, that gives you kind of a really good as is like comp for an investment. But I mean, I'm not going to consider it in my ARV, if you will. So I would just take a look in several of these. This looks to be clean, but not completely outdated. Sold for 100. And what you're hoping to find, I mean, this rent rate, I might run numbers based on holding it as a rental if it were me as well. 3, 1.5, blah, 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 blah. I'm guessing that this is a very different area right here that went for so much more. Let's see where it's at. No, it's not completely different. It's a single family. Totally missed that. So that's why that went for so much more. Yeah, you probably want to, from the way I'm seeing it, hit it up and go townhouses only. But I almost hate to do that sometimes. I really like this comp, and I would hold it there. This one wasn't very updated. And I know, like I said, you want to try to have 3 to 6. I mean, the finishes aren't crazy. I know it's a little bit different because these are row houses. And number 9 is, it's not like 2, but it's still super close. And this is the same one. We've got one on R Street. Here. We don't have photos of this one, so I'd probably go look at those online for that one on McCabe, because also not seeing that. But I mean, again, I'm going to go with the more conservative number and keep it at like the 140. And that's just going to be a supporting comp that plus or minuses will be on the appraisal. And that's what I would run my numbers off of. 140 right there out of the gates, just because we're getting kind of farther away. Those are essentially the exact same blueprint property. And when it comes to cities like this one, look, obviously sold for more, because I'm thinking it, maybe not. I was going to say, if you start to see them with finished out basements, that might make the difference. This one was done very nicely. It's also brick. It's also a row house. But I wouldn't be aiming for that 170 or even that 165. I would run numbers on this based on conservative numbers or rent numbers. So, man, I hate it when it does that. So, I mean, I know where you have like a lot to choose from, right? That's the one I just was on. And you would almost want to sit there and be like, well, I get pretty far away. Well, where's property 25? It's over here in this cluster. I'm not even considering these. So this is one of those things where it's like, you really want to stick to the comps that are right here in our direct vicinity if possible. definitely try not to be crossing this major road. Definitely don't be using a comp that's up here just because it's in the 200s versus a comp that's right here because it's giving you a 140 number. I mean, it's clean, it's updated, and you don't want it to ever be the highest priced property that's ever sold in your neighborhood, right? So you just don't ever want to choose those comps that are in the other neighborhood over something in yours just because you see a number that works within half of a mile. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. So I would anchor this as a straight up $140,000 ARV, being conservative, even though I always say that. But if I'm a flipper, and I remodel this thing, say I put like a little special thing in there that makes it a little bit better for a market pricing, I'm probably going to list it a little bit higher. But I really like the concept of turning this one into a very solid rental because I think that, that's a very plausible exit strategy as well as holding this property. It looks like it would be a really good one to me. So I hope that helps. Oh, sorry, Brian. I didn't really realize that was yours and I wasn't reading the feeds. It's a 3-1. It needs a full rehab. I think the numbers are going to work and I can actually run numbers for you. But I don't really do that on the show. Hit it up on the hotline. But yeah, I think that that's a solid 140 easy ARV, even though if I'm flipping it, I'm listing it probably at least 150. But I think that the comps really support that 140 number very like multiple times. And being that like some of it we don't 100% know, would it garner more on, I mean, me, if I'm flipping that, I'm probably going to do a really clean, simple, affordable finish out and make the basement a lot nicer. And, maybe even list it up a little bit higher. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do that on our 2 comps. And I think that that might be an opportunity. I'd probably dig into it a little bit more. But as far as running, a very solid number on what I think is those 2 properties are going to definitely be on the appraisal. Like I said, the 165 and the 170, they're also close right there, will potentially be on the appraisal, but we don't 100% know on one of them. There wasn't photos. You can look on and see if sometimes there's like older photos still listed on realtor.com when they don't pull up in here. And sometimes I'll even go over to batch if PropStream doesn't have the photos, but some of these with them showing me straight up, here's one without photos, or here is one with photos right around the corner, and I didn't see them. Yeah, and it looks like they have that finished out basement opportunity. It's probably, oh gosh, let me share this. I got totally sidetracked. This one right here. Let's see, it's got 4 bedroom, 1 bathroom. So, you're going to take off. We're going to have like a little bit, this one's at 749 McCabe, and I don't think we saw this one. We're going to have some things that aren't like maybe as nicely updated in here compared to our other 2 properties, if you see what I'm saying. But they did take the time to put a little living space down here in the basement. You know what I'm saying? So that added some value. Obviously a bedroom and probably a bathroom that's not even listed on here, or at least living space. They just took the opportunity to make that a little bit nicer. Now, granted, it could use some TLC, fence, and exterior, but that kind of shows you kind of can give and take, and it really supports that 140 price right there. Now let's look at this one. Might be in a little bit different area. I am not in love. What in God's green earth? Lord Jesus. This one's completely outdated. And it looks to have sold for, it says 175. I'm definitely, oh, excuse me, it is listed at 175. So you see what I'm saying? I would assume this is listed high in my opinion. And it's not going to go for that. I mean, it's just quite outdated. And I did not pull, this is why, right here. A lot more square footage. So that being said, now you understand what that one is up there. So the point being, like, you have to give and take there. I'm setting my price at 140 there, but I'd probably finish out that basement and list it a little bit higher if I'm that flipper, but it's a really good rental opportunity as well. So all right, let me get back to it. Okay, Ollie, look at you. That's a lot of coffees. That's so many coffees. I appreciate you, sir. I'm gonna have all the coffee for all the weeks. Merry Christmas. I hope you had a beautiful Christmas over there in Hawaii. Thank you very much. Oh, hey guys, I didn't even mention this at the beginning, but I would really appreciate it if you guys would all give me a super thumbs up. Like, I know you can't actually do a thumbs up, but I really want you to like the video. So it makes me feel good about myself. It helps our ratings probably too, you know. Yes, Brian, you're so very welcome. Anytime, and you know. Do I think in Baltimore? Joey, I legitimately heard that in Brian's voice. I don't know why. Do you think in Baltimore they want to be at 1.5%? Is that property? You know what? A lot of areas in Baltimore, I find like a 1% rental is a very plausible. I would prefer in a neighborhood like this, I would kind of like want to be checking it. But I think like it's a very solid, being that it needs to be updated. We saw what the $1,630 rental listing looked like, right? I mean, it was updated. You're going to update it either way from the sounds of it. So yeah, I would think that they would want to be all in it, you know, at a good 1.5 to be on the safe side, you know, but I've seen crazy things in Baltimore. I've seen people go in at like a 0.5% rental when it's like one of the posh areas, you know, but you know, it depends on, you know, they're getting equity and whatnot. Run the flip numbers and run the rental numbers, and you want to definitely make sure, you know, you're not too different in those offers anyways, since either way it's going to need like that rehab to rent for that. You see what I'm saying? So my rehab numbers aren't going to be that different from the sounds of it. So my offer probably shouldn't be too different, because you definitely want to be cash flowing as a rental, right? You definitely want to be grabbing equity. And so that's one of the principles we kind of teach. You know, I don't really offer that much higher because I'm holding the property, but it does give you some level of comfortability to be good in multiple exit strategies. And one of the reasons that we bring that up, and I know this is the Comp Queen show and I'm kind of going off course here. One of the reasons that we bring that up oftentimes is because, you know, we bring up an example of a house that we bought and we essentially we were wholesaling it, right? And never intended to use another exit strategy, but were able to employ an exit strategy because at the time it was sitting on the market for like around 60 days, I believe. And this was many years ago. We just could not believe that it was not selling. And the reason that we kept getting that it wasn't selling, now this is before I was licensed, so another agent was, we couldn't believe it, but all of the feedback was that the master bedroom was on the second floor. Now, DFW, the inventory has never been that low. And so having other exit strategies, now what we actually ended up doing was seller taking down loan and seller financing it. But point being, there's often times when you definitely want to have that security blanket, I guess, or the security of being able to go multiple exit strategies, right? And like if you are running the numbers that way, even if your numbers come back so much better, it should just make your life easier. But I'm still want to run the numbers on a flip. Just had my house appraised here in DFW. The garage at 35% of the price per square foot used for the rest of the house. Is that common? I've never calculated that. I would have to actually look on an appraisal. I was quite certain that it was actually a flat number for however many car garages it has. So I feel like the answer to that is no, but I could be completely wrong about that. I usually will use a rule of thumb on that anyways, but 35% of the square footage, no. That doesn't sound right to me. Because what if the price per square foot for the house is quite low or quite high? I don't think it adds or subtracts 35% of that across the board for garages. No. So that doesn't sound correct to me. But is that a calculation that you just did? Like you just calculated it because you're trying to look for an answer? You'd be tripping on... Guy, did you take the personality test? I think you might be an analyzer. You'd be tripping on garages. Add $10,000, subtract $10,000 for a garage. Just do that. It add or subtract $10,000. Just add or subtract $10,000. Is that it? That's it. Yeah, I think that you should definitely not calculate that on houses across the board, across the country. You don't agree with him. Yeah, I mean, I can comp it for you. But I mean, you're definitely not wanting to get like super hung up on that. Oh, we got another one I'm going to add here really fast. So I hope that answered y'all's question. And I hope that helped you because I know it can be kind of confusing. Hi, Lori. Good to see you, darling. I know it can be just one of my opinion. Oh, yeah. If you send it to me, I can definitely take a look and see. We got an appraisal that, appraisals are kind of funky right now. But the reality of it is they have to take a lot of different things into consideration. And you guys have to be aware of that. Right now in a lot of markets, I just had a listing sell. We're actually closing on Monday here in DFW, and comps would indicate, and this is a house guy, and I bring this up for good reason. This is a house that doesn't have a garage. We have like another one or two houses that comp without garages, but they're not remodeled. This is remodeled. So you have to pick and choose when you're in those situations what you consider. Now, I listed this house for, at the time, this is how different it was, okay? At the time that, I was hired to list the house, I believe I comped it out as a 190. I ended up listing it, and 190 was high, or maybe it was, 190. I ended up listing it in, I think, at 205 and sold it at 215. And we had, I think like 7 offers in less than 12 hours. And it met appraisal. You've got to realize that I changed what I thought my list price would be just because our market is that low inventory. It is a completely new house. And because of that, it met appraisal because new comps were coming on the market that drove that price up. So me being super conservative about the garage situation right there, I just had to take into consideration with my list price or with what our expected appraisal value was. And I'm just going to let y'all know, I was a little nervous about the appraisal, right? Because it had already changed my value opinion so much within a couple of months, right? So you have to recognize that fact when you're going to be flipping a house, that things are going to change. It's going to take you, a couple of months to flip this house, and the values can change. So you want to make sure any unknowns are covered, that you have the ability to pivot. What if the bottom drops out on you in the middle of the project? Like, what is your backup plan? And that's, I think, what a lot of people forget to take into consideration. What are your multiple exit strategies? Are you going to be safe being able to pivot? So on and so forth. And I play it kind of conservative when I'm running my numbers, like even if I know, well, I could save on this portion of the rehab, but there's a lot of unknowns that come up, and it usually kind of shakes out in the wash. So what up, Facebook user? I'm glad you learned something new, even though you told me you haven't even been here for a minute because I taught you so well. I'm glad I can still keep bringing stuff to the table. All right, so we're gonna grab onto our next comp here. Let's go for it. Fayetteville for Miss Jessica. Let's do it to it. And guys, I'm so here for all of your questions in the comments. I'll try to pay better attention. Callie, I really just you're my little coffee fund. Just still sticking out at me. I really appreciate that so much. Oh, look. I literally am going to be sad when I have to change from my Christmas nails. I've been rocking them for a couple weeks now. That hat, though. Facebook user. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. So happy to see you. I love your shining face. I'm glad you let me know who it was. If you would just register for StreamYard, then it would say Mr. Frongos. Let's see. Brookwood Drive, I think is what I wrote down. I write them down, you guys, so that I don't have to scroll back through all the comments. Here we go. And sometimes I get lost.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Lord Jesus. What do we have here, Jessica? What do we have here?
Is that Fayetteville?
That is.
We want it.
We want it.
Got buyers.
Fayetteville, Tennessee, baby.
Fayetteville, Keith Edwards' backyard.
Mm-hmm. I'll register. Joseph, he says I'll register. Well, you can watch the replay and join us live next week. Go ahead and run. You can catch it on the replay. I think you entered one in, but you were later in the list. But yeah, watch it on the replay. Right now I'm at 50 minutes. I'll probably go for another 40 minutes usually. Hello, Mr. Trenbeth. Happy Wednesday to you, good sir. Tenant occupied for 2,200. Girl, you know how to run those numbers. Let's go. Let's go. 222,000. I'll take that deal. This is bananas and pajamas. Why does it say it's $222,000? Let's see. 2291 square feet, 2005 build. This bad boy's got 4 bathrooms. 2008 build. Girl. I don't know what the asking price is for this, but I'm guessing that my numbers are pretty stable here. I'm going to go and sort in order of distance really fast just to see what I've got. No photos. Of course. Of course. I'm liking this a little bit more. I mean, these seem to be like the same neighborhood, right? I mean, pretty consistent data here. You can hit up both, but same address. Same address. We've still got 3 comps. Still get the same number. I mean, I can verify that we're dealing with the same type of house, hopefully. Of course I can't. But yeah, that would be what I would verify and see what the difference is between 300 and 400 here. Especially since this is a 2013 build, 2017 build. So they are newer, but this one is the highest sold. Lot size 27,000 square feet. We've got a full acre. I mean, I'm going at least 360. So the rent rate isn't great compared to, the price point of a full market value. But yeah, it just depends on how much they want for it. They bought it for so little, but then they obviously built a house on that lot, is what I'm guessing. They paid that for the lot, but maybe not. 98, 2002. Yeah, probably bought that paid that for. Well, this is him. It's just weird. Maybe twice. I don't know. But yeah, I'm assuming that was just the lot. They built a whole house on there, and yeah, it just depends on what their asking price is. But I would assume the value is at least, at least 360 after like fully remodeled and on the market. So moving on, we're gonna hit 7 Forest Hill Drive, Williamsburg. And keep in mind, guys, when I'm writing these down, I'm not always like remembering whose they were. Because I write them down really fast so I don't have to scroll up through the feed to figure out if I've missed any, etc., etc. What do we have here? For 2.5, 3,035, 3,135 square feet. Uh-oh. This is where we run into trouble, huh, guys? Look at our little comps up here. What are we dealing with? Where is my oh man. Oh Lord Jesus. All right, this is where we're gonna have to start out going broader on our default settings. Ugh. Here we go. Here's our example. Here's our example of why we sometimes will try to broaden up our criteria so that we can see what our little neighborhood would substantiate. Okay, so I want you guys to pay close attention because when I backed out some of that square footage, and we don't 100% yet know why we might be what we call here big man on the block. Backed out some of that square footage, and all of a sudden I have 2 properties that sold in our neighborhood, right? So I don't know if you guys saw this earlier, but I mean, here we are. We've got 2 properties that are definitely like half of the size of ours that sold for 272 and 300,000, right? So we've got an average right there of 191 a square foot. Okay, now that doesn't mean you automatically apply that. The smaller the square footage, the higher price per square foot will typically go. So now if I come back here and I say, okay, my minimum square footage is going to be this. See how much lower the average price per square foot is in the whole market right there. So I'm looking at what the market can handle. I'm looking at what the market demand is, right? That got actually drastically lowered probably because of that. But so, you know, I've got all of these sold for a lower price per square foot than the ones right there in our neighborhood that were smaller. So you don't want to automatically just go apply a price per square foot price. But you also see that, you know, they were selling for half the square footage. They were selling for like high 2s and 300. So that gives you information on what your market can sustain and what your neighborhood. Now, this is kind of like a little interesting niche neighborhood because it's behind these commercial properties here, and then it's backing up to some, you know, wooded and rural area, right? And it seems to be like in a part of Virginia where you do start to see this in some of these locations where, you know, you got freeways going through. Well, this has got a lot of commercial on it, right? But Highway 60 here might be less of a, and Colonel Parkway might be, you know, look like a main road, but it's kind of a country highway road. So it might not be dividing factors. So those are things you just want to look out for when you're kind of back as like a little bit against the wall right here. You don't have just a ton of comps in smaller neighborhoods without having to cross that main road because they haven't built over there, you know. So that's one of those things. Now, we're not seeing on these comps over here has probably got something to do with, you know, these factors right here, right? Square footage, you know, you broaden up that square footage, you're going to start looking for comps that are starting to pop up over here. Now, obviously, the price point in this market is pretty stable in these neighborhoods when you're seeing this. Now, let's look at this a little bit more. I mean, the houses are kind of look like this. So you can make very good assumptions. And if you're forced into that situation, right? If you're forced into having to like cross a major road. So see, we've got plenty of population. We're just backed up into a little, we're right on the edge of town, right? So can I use PropStream to actually get sold prices in Florida? Yes, you can use Batch and PropStream. We use both of these tools nationwide. So the other thing I really want to do when I'm doing this is let's just back this out again. And let's go with let's look at this 440, 128 a square foot. I want to see if I can get photos of these and see if it looks like a comparable property. So basically what I'm doing is I'm seeing if I can justify it in the market, not just in our neighborhood. I want to make sure that the lower price properties or the lower square footage properties in these types of neighborhoods are going for the same. Let's see what we've got here. This one is 2,500 square feet. 2006 build, whereas ours is 94. So I'm just going to give us some breathing room, right? You want to check all of those things. You kind of want to lower your price or raise your price. So I'm kind of just looking to set a baseline for 2.5. Bear with me, guys. So I don't see any other 90s builds right there. So our closest are going to be like these, right? And then look at this, 1,295 square feet, probably has like some basements and stuff. Look at these selling for that price. And of course, they don't have photos. Kind of liking that base price right there. I just don't think these properties are so drastically different up here either. And again, I'm not saying that we should or should not utilize this as a blueprint comp, but you're wanting to look for what is appraiser gonna choose from to value this. And I do like that one. We want to see, what is it? 173 a square foot, which I think ours is going to be closer to like a 150 a square foot. What would that equal?
Titanium investments.
150 times 3135.
How are we doing today?
That's like way too much. Way too much for the market, and that's why I never do it like that. But let's see. Where is 8 and 9?
Okay, yeah.
7 and 9. That makes me feel better. I'm thinking those are going to be decent comps for us.
Well, you are talking to somebody right now.
And I do like it probably around 400.
Well, let me hear the question.
I'm going to double check the neighborhood. I mean, I do like it right around 400.
Well, did you have a particular one in mind that you wanted to buy?
That's a big old lot right there, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. Hey,
I think that those are going to end up being the ones, interestingly enough, that are going to be on an appraisal. So it is tougher to comp these because you do have big man on the block, right? You got all kinds of different build years, so on and so forth. I mean, I do believe like a 4.
So Kansas or Missouri?
410 is a good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, we have.
Yeah, I was gonna say something's wrong because there was 410 in my head. It's because this one was selected twice. Yeah, I think that 410 number is probably gonna be where I'm sitting. I think this looks like it is that newer house, newer neighborhood, and I know we have got like a bigger lot and everything than that. But the house is like 22 years newer, right? So it's give and take on the appraisal. Of course.
Oh, nice.
And this is just a much lesser house. I think that one is a solid 410, and that's how I came up with it. So you're very welcome, Jessica. Good to see you. You know what? That's a good question, Tristan. I feel like a whole million people should be watching this. Yeah, I mean, we've got, 2 more comps left. But yeah, it should be like, I would never get a million comps in an episode and then I'd lose track, and but I do appreciate the like buttons and the follows. So we're gonna go on to the next comp for the day. I got about 22 minutes left for my Titans. You know how special that number is for me. Let's see, 1003 Mount Zion Mar.
Well, I'll guarantee you, I'm going to call you. I'm kind of, general manager over here at the company. I don't know who dropped the ball 6 months ago, but I'm not.
What do we got here?
So, Patrick Brown.
This looks like a builder's neighborhood, so this is interesting.
We are with Titanium.
Because I saw like 15 different houses.
Yep.
Oh, am I clicking through the wrong things? What is happening here?
Yeah, Titanium Investments.
Whose property is this?
Absolutely. And so here's what I'll do. I got your information, kind of, Kansas, Missouri. Kind of got a price range you're looking to stay in. I got your phone number. Best phone number is 816-756-4014.
This one is super interesting for me right now. I'm probably going to have to back out of the criteria there on batch. This looks like a new construction situation. It's been listed on them.
Yeah, not a problem, my man. I appreciate you. You have a great day.
Is this the same property? I'm super confused. Is it a residential vacant lot or is it this? What are we dealing with here? Sale and loan. What is happening? Guessing you want me to comp the lot. That's why it's weird. So if I'm comping lots, I'm typically going to go out a little bit further. It looks like they're selling this. Is this a lot? Is it? Let's see what we get here. I mean, it's been listed for quite some time at that. Oh, sorry. It failed. They were trying to sell it for 170 for a long time. Need to go vacant land here. 3 miles out. I usually dig in pretty heavily on that street view. Let's see what 916 Marlboro sold for. 35,000, but it is like an eighth. So I'm going to calculate that really fast. Yeah, I mean, don't make sense. So we've got like 2 acres roughly here, almost 2 acres. No listing description. Perked and ready to build, an incredible opportunity to build your dream home in an excellent location. Enjoy proximity to restaurant, shopping, blah, 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 blah. Land. So that's going to matter a lot of times. Look at that listing history. Guessing there used to be a house on it. Wait, what? Did he tear down a house? Did he divide the land off? What is happening? So confused. Is he just going crazy there for a minute? Did they tear down a house? What has happened? They've been trying to sell this for a long time. Yeah, I figured that out. I'm just like was so confused at the houses. I guess like when they listed it all these times, they've been trying to showcase, what it could be. I don't know. I figured it would be a builder's neighborhood, but when there's houses up with that listing. What up, John K? Yeah, this is kind of madness. Because it wasn't just listed at this price for like 178 days. It was listed at that price for a lot less time. So clearly the market isn't even demanding 178 for these, or 170,000 for these 2 acres ever, which is sad and unfortunate because it seems like it is a fantastic, but I just don't know how motivated is your seller to actually lower that price. You know what I mean? If they would let it sit for a year, of trying to sell it without lowering the price, or how high in demand is it, right? So I would say, several things. The tax assessed value of that land first and foremost, and the market land value showing at 140,000. So the fact that it had been listed at 170 doesn't seem exponentially higher when you consider all things right there, right? And then our closest comps are right here on Marlboro, but the big thing that we have to be realistic about is we've got to see what the difference is. I mean, we've got this is showing it was vacant land at 306, and I'm just guessing that that's not accurate for that size of a lot. So that makes 0 sense to me. And sometimes what you'll end up seeing on these is that you will have, it says it's vacant land, but the price that was last recorded was after a house was built on it and sold. So the builder added his house plans. So the builder is trying to sell this all in all. I mean, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. So for me, what that makes me want to do is get rid of that vacant land. Come back here. And figure out what the price to build something like this would be. It's a big house. I mean, a big house. Let's go a little bit further out since it's a little bit more rural and see what we've got in 4, 5. What do we got here? Okay. Much smaller lot. So houses could easily be going. What's number 10? Where are you at, girl? That's listed for 550. Many acres. I mean, this one is so stinking close. Interesting. Yeah, this is a tough one to get an accurate comp on, but I would definitely say that it's very obvious that the value for the land is either lower or he's selling it as a package and it wouldn't work out for what he's charging as a builder. It's kind of hard to say. But it also really is going to be dependent on your exit strategy. And a lot of these people they won't sell it unless you use them as the builder, if that makes sense. So it could have a lot of things to do with it. You know what I'm saying? It really is kind of hard to tell on that, but I would just say it doesn't seem to be that far off, in my opinion. And I would say there's another factor there as to why it wouldn't sell at 170. I'd say it's probably closer to 150, 140. But yeah, there has to be something to do with it being the builders attached. No idea. So that's what happens sometimes on land. It's not very clear cut until you start to really dig into what the listing is. And then you've got like land and houses all over the place on this one that have we can look into this one on 1174 Marlboro. Yeah, it's got a house on it. Like I said, was doubtful that it wasn't And then these numbers don't work when you something's off on all of those. You know what I'm saying? This one's kind of making sense, but has a lot more acres. Twice the amount of acres. So there's something going on there. There's just not a demand for it, or they're attaching themselves some kind of way. But I mean, I'm not gonna comp it out at like I comped a property for you 2 weeks ago. Thank you for that. I said there were certain states where wholesaling property were better. Oh, my favorite states to wholesale in are not usually west of Texas. We tend to like the southern states, the Midwest, and then the East Coast for real estate, period. But I mean, depends on your marketing strategies, to be honest with you. But we're being nationwide in our marketing strategies. California. I do not think California is fun to wholesale in. It can be lucrative, don't get me wrong. Vegas can be lucrative, and I mean, it just depends on what you want to do and what your volume, what kind of business do you want to build. Like, I find consistency is harder in those states. Prices can get pretty outrageous, and I find sellers often think their houses are worth a lot more than they are when they're distressed. So giving you just an example, we had a property that we just got under contract. Like we have like 2 properties in Oregon right now. We just got one under contract. Well, 3 actually. Just kidding. 3 properties in Oregon right now. And, you know, they're going to be very lucrative deals, but they're harder to find. We don't consistently have properties there. So it just depends. Like, I assume when you're asking that question that you're newer to the industry, or you're newer to working virtually, or something of that nature. And that's why you're asking me, because we are all over the country, you know, buying and flipping and holding and wholesaling and living our best lives. Virtual is obviously in our wheelhouse, and so we have very much experienced it across the country. I'm not saying, like, it depends on your definition of best. I'm not saying I don't like wholesaling in those states. I'm just saying that the deals are harder to come by, and they're less consistent. Yeah, the deals are harder to come by. You spend more per lead, and a lot of times the sellers are on the moon. Depends on your marketing methods and marketing strategy and marketing budget and time and all kinds of good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So California is not a bad place to do any real estate. I don't think anywhere in the U.S. is a bad place except for Utah. So yeah, I am looking at this Jonathan Street property. Am I spelling it wrong? Because I'm not catching it. Let's try. Yeah, I think it was spelled wrong on the thing. Let's see what we got here. La-di-da-di-da. Oh, I forgot to switch over. I got like 2 people behind you guys. It's going to be one. No, I got 2 more. So, Riffer Boy, I may not get to yours. I have to log in earlier next time. Or I will try to do it at a later time. Or if you're smart, you could probably, since you're on the show, if I don't get to it while I'm on the live, I will at least take a look at it at some point. You can add me on, I would say, Instagram. And like, I'm trying to look for, make sure that it looks like you're watching on YouTube. Make sure that you are adding me and message me. Make sure you're spelling my name correctly, and I'm happy to comp it for you. If you are wholesaling it, I will be happily interested if you get it under contract to take a look at it in that facet as well. Jonathan, why did this not work? All right. But yeah, if I don't get to your apartment there on the live, just because we're going on an hour and a half at this point, you guys make sure to hit me up in your messages, and I will happily comp it for you.
I'm just waiting for his feedback on the property. He's actually, close in the area. There's a lot of flips in the area.
Oh, this little street has so much potential, doesn't it?
A couple weeks ago, he's engaged.
I love it. I love it.
People travel, an hour away for a good deal. So
I love it. I love it. This has so much potential.
Follow up with you and let you know. I haven't forgot about you. I'm actively working on it and trying to see if I can't bring something to the table for you. All right, my man. Yes, sir.
I mean, it looks like we're gonna have some very clear as is.
There you go.
And some very clear rehabbed properties here.
I'll let you know immediately.
These are on Broadway, so I would make sure to take a look into each and every one of them. I'm just scrolling quickly through the photos.
Want to make sure you haven't pulled the trigger on anything yet. All right.
Different looking properties. This looks like it has like a whole nother level of rehab, though. Absolutely. Maybe a historic home.
I should know something the next day or so for sure.
I'm going to be very careful of that. But yeah, they really went all in on the kitchen versus the other one. 6 bedrooms. It's pretty important information. So I pop over here. Thank you. I'm here for it. Baltimore. I love you so much. Oh, I wish you could see my face when I read that. I was just... Oh, it was cracking me up because Joey typoed when he was typing in Baltimore earlier, and he put an O instead of an A. And so I was like, Tell me how I literally read it that way. I said Baltimore. I was like, tell me why I'm hearing this in Brian's voice. And Brian says, I sent that Baltimore. Baltimore. Lean to the hotline. I love it, Bubba. Oh, I love it. Okay, just so you guys know, the hotline is what our Titans who are our Crucible attendees, our Titan fam. And Brian is referring to that. That's their hotline that they get to phone a friend. Phone a friend. No, we run numbers together. We JV deals, stuff like that. Make business happen, and that is their quickest path to getting answers. So him saying he sent it into the hotline is for the use of letting me know that we'll further run numbers versus just analyzing what an ARV that we came up with was 140 on it. So we'll actually run the numbers now on what would be a good offer. I said they were Crucible students. They're Titan fam. They come to the Titanium Crucible, which is our version of teaching people how to kick ass and take names. We got so much going on. Like, you know what is interesting, guys? Right at the beginning of this episode, I want to look at these addresses. Wayside, Broadway. Let's see what we've got here. Sorting this by distance. This is a really good example of why I was telling you. I like to look at both systems. You know what I'm saying? So I was really digging this one. What do we got here? 112, 130. Usually when I see stuff like this, you guys, I said 112, 130. I'm talking about the address, not the prices. Usually when I see stuff like this, you guys, I am seeing the difference of a remodel, basement, stuff like that. I mean, look at that thing. Oh, bolts. I guess we're in Hagerstown, which is different than Baltimore. Look at that. That is just a very striking property to me. And I love these old historic homes. I mean, they've clearly kept it. That is clearly not a comp for us. See what I'm saying here? Breaks my heart, but it's like we've got to find something more like our property, which this one was more like our property, but it's definitely not hitting that 390. Well, we don't. Air fives. I'm making fun because RJ got a fever today. Everybody keeps getting sick around here, so I sent his ass packing. It's like, go home. Get your illness away from me and don't do it. This one is a little bit tougher. I'm really digging why. Oh, God. No. Ours is better than that. Come on. I was looking at this one. Gosh. Dag nabbit. I'm really concerned that we're going to land so much lower because of sadness. Let's just see. 25. Let's just try to go a little bit like that. I really want something like in this little neighborhood right here. So I'm in little, just dig back, go both. What do I have right here? Oh no, it's not what I wanted to see. I really wanted like the 200s to work because like across the street there you have like these big, beautiful historic homes and so on. This is a whole different kind of property. You know, this is really distressed, maybe a good as is comp, but I can't use it as like a blueprint comp. And what I think I'm going to be running into at the end of the day is going to be right around that 200 number to maybe 230, but it's not going to start hitting over here on Broadway. Even though I do have this one that has like a less historic look, like a flatter front. I mean, that street is clearly doing itself some favors. I think that this 44 Wayside is probably, these Wayside houses are more like in our ballpark. And I went back like several years, or not several years, like an extra amount of time to try to see anything that's selling over here. And there's just not a lot selling here. When you start to cross this, you're starting to get some super duper, like, obviously very sought after homes. Very grand. Whole different barrel of monkeys, you know? Sometimes it takes me a while to comp when I'm just yakking. Teaching. This one is hard to comp. Making me upset. I mean, with a full hefty rehab, I'm even coming in even lower. I mean, the properties that I have selected there, I mean, in my head, I'm thinking 190 max. That as is one, keep in mind also, sat on the market for a year to sell at that price. So I don't feel like that should scare you into offering like 100. This one sold for 60. What was it? 66? 60. This sold for 70. So those are some good this isn't a good as is comp. But I mean, unless our interior looks like that and we can justify it. But the map's all screwy here, and I think you're just gonna have to be very careful about that. Oh, somebody get on prop stream.
Who? Whose account are you on? That's why.
Yeah. He said who, and he knew damn well it was him. Kicking me off in the middle of my life. It's okay. I was wrapping my life up. We're going on an hour 40 minutes now. I know that this is a really hard one. You give me two really hard ones, and that's okay. But I'm really landing in that range for this market of when I see something like this, it's a little bit different, and it's a different neighborhood. The setback is, and this is even only going for like that 185. And I know that there's some nearer comps. I don't feel very confident in that number, right? So, you know, I used to always just go verify that on Propelio as well, which actually really always gave me very good confidence. But when I come up with a number, I don't feel great about it. I want to, and I know that this is really unorthodox, and y'all will hear me a lot of times say like, no. I try to go see if there's something that hasn't been picked up near our property there that's been listed and Zillow's picked it up, which I'm not seeing. So once I ignore the square footage, let me see what I've got. So this gives me hope in that this distressed property, now granted, it has that really historic look on the inside and like a more grand look on the outside, but this sold for 150 and it's not crossing any of those major roads, right? Versus, we're seeing this listing at 275. So I'm assuming it's remodeled, 330, da 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 da. So that gives me a lot of confidence in that this neighborhood might not be in that like historic, it might not be that historic looking house, but I feel like we can sustain a solid price point. I still don't think that we're getting a lot more than 185 for this, to be honest with you. This one's active. Let me get these pictures on this one pulled up and dig through them on the inside. I mean, this looks a lot more like commercial to me, obviously, but which justifies the price. So it doesn't really make it a comp either. I'm basically just trying to figure out on this one exactly what is an appraiser going to choose. You know what I mean? Actually, I didn't go further back. Let's filter it out 2 years. See if we got anything that supports. I mean, we're just looking for supporting evidence at this point. This one sold for 150, but it also looked like it could use some work. Also, that very historic looking property. You've got like multiple stories. That's 2454 square feet. So yeah, I'm just a little on the struggle bus there. I don't want to feel like we're going to be remodeling this and hoping we land at that 190 mark. Completely remodeled. Which is, unfortunate, but because it's obviously like a really good area that could demand more, but I just don't think that our style of home is the same as those others. What in the world did I do wrong here? And I don't even feel good about that number. Like in my heart, I really want that to be like 160. But I just don't have that supporting evidence. A lot of times, I'm just going to be real with you guys. I will just keep digging and digging back until I find comps that will make me feel good about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This estimate being 143 actually says a lot to me. That actually does make me feel good about the fact that I wanted to be lower at 160, even though I know there's not properties over here. So like this one, for example, is for sale for 125. Could use some updating, but it's not really that historic looking home. I mean, it's pretty. It's a row house, I think. It looks like one anyways. So to think ours could be remodeled and go for 160. This is that commercial one. A row. That's 140. This one is a lot smaller. Sticking with 160 after repairs. That's what I'm going to go with. We got a much larger house than that. Sorry, this one is tough. I mean, you can always get a second opinion too from an agent if you're struggling with it, but I would think that that would render 160. When you look at that street view, you've got like yard. I don't love that it's next to commercial property, but I mean, I don't think this is crazy on this street. I feel good at 160. So, all right, guys. What that means for me is I'm at 1 hour and 45 minutes. So I'm calling it for the day. Oh, Lord. I got to move around. I got to stick and move. I can only sit down so long at a time. I do have other comps written down. I didn't get to 2 of them, in fact. So if you guys message me, I'm way more likely to, because I don't think those were students. If you message me, I'm way more likely to get to those at a later time. Sorry I couldn't get to them live. You'll have to tune in earlier next week and get in line sooner. So I appreciate you guys. Let's see. I hope you have a wonderful and happy new year, and that you take the time to really set yourself up for your vision for your 2022. I know we will be. So have a happy new year. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.